RM Sotheby's is the world's largest collector car auction house by total sales. They are the preeminent market maker of high-quality collector cars and collections, regardless of size or complexity. By working in partnership with the Sotheby's team and its network of 80 offices in 40 countries, RM Sotheby's has established the largest client network of any collector car auction house in the world. Join the RM Sotheby's family by connecting with one of their car specialists at rmsotheby's.com or contact me directly at gstanley@rmsotheby's.com. LLC TLC is here to save you money on all of your vehicle purchases. LLC TLC will permanently register your classic cars in Montana to avoid any annual renewal fees. As your registered agent, they will handle everything for you so you never have to step foot in Montana. And as a listener of this podcast, LLC TLC is offering 30% off your entire package. Simply go to llctlc.com/classic or mention this podcast when you contact LLC TLC directly. All right, welcome to the Collector Car Podcast. I have a returning guest here, Mike Roberts from F40 Motorsports. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Greg. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I haven't had a chance to drop by the shop recently. I need to get back up there and see what cool stuff you have in the back there. But this is Wayne Carini's F40 Motorsports. Tell us, I know you're the sales manager, but kind of what does that entail from a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, it's everything from buying, selling, photographing, typing descriptions, dealing with the people day in, day out, evaluating cars, and just all aspects of a dealership, a classic car dealership from start to finish.
What's your favorite car that's in the shop right now?
Oh, maybe I'll have to give you a tour with the my office view right now is a Ferrari California and a Healy with the Lambo Gallardo in the center. But on the right is a E-Type Dino and a Z8 lineup, which is
nice.
Yeah, that's nice. I wish that was my view. Was a couple of my favorite cars. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, today we're going to talk about maybe, I don't know if these are your favorite cars or not, but I had asked you, like, there's been a lot of transition in the collector car marketplace, right? And a lot of generational shifts and different things happening, and you're a younger guy, and I thought, you know what, why don't you tell us from your perspective some of the cars to watch in 2025. So we're going to go over a list here, and we have not discussed this at all, and so you sent me a text of the cars and I find some of these very interesting to talk about. All right, so
I forget why I texted you. No, we'll see.
Well, you'll find out here shortly. Okay.
Yeah, right.
All right, now this first one, I totally agree. You just said NSX. So is that new? Is that old? Is that, what are we talking about?
Yeah, so what was it, 91 they came in to the US. So I love the early cars. They're very analog. I feel like GTRs and Supras and these other Japanese cars have had their spot in this, time in the spotlight rather. And have shot up in value. And some of these other Japanese cars, they're kind of just sitting there. And they're so cool and so fun and rare. It's not just because I have one that I'm saying this. I've always loved them. I've had a couple, but they're truly amazing cars. And I feel like they're undervalued. I think they're a decent bargain right now. The later ones, would they go until 05 before they reintroduced them? Those seem to get more of a premium. I still think they're undervalued. I think they're still a bargain, but I've always loved them, just the design. And what better sports car, and you can change your own oil for $50, right, on a Saturday afternoon. It's a Honda. It's a VTEC. It's an amazing automobile that the average guy can afford or work on.
Yeah, I've only driven one, and I fell in love with it. It was actually the first car I ever sold for RM Sotheby's during their Monterey Shift online only COVID sale.
Oh yeah,
it was,
I remember.
Yeah, I think it was a 98. It was Monaco Blue, which was really beautiful.
Gorgeous.
And it was one of 22 Monaco Blue cars that year with black interior. And I just drove it around for the shooting, the photographer's shoot, and I loved it. And this thing only had like 18,000 miles on it, just pristine. And so that's high on my list of desirable cars to get right now. So I would totally agree with you. And they they skyrocketed for a while, right? Then they plateaued, and they've just been
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
stagnant for probably a year and a half now.
Yeah, it'd be a good time to snag one.
Now, the ones that have gone up and got a lot of attention recently would be the JDM version, the right-hand drive Acura Type R, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact nomenclature on it, but I know Broad Arrow had one that was over 300 grand. I want to say like 360 or something. Like, it's the holy grail. So you would understand of Acura cars, especially or Japanese cars. All right, the next is an interesting one, and you just mentioned it as well. The Z8. This one, I didn't care for this one when it came out. I thought it was kind of ugly, but to me, it has really appreciated. I've appreciated a lot more now. It's aged well.
Yeah. So why I picked that one is one of my all-time favorite cars. I think one of the most beautiful cars in existence is the famed BMW 507. Elvis had one, right? I mean, it was the car that almost bankrupt BMW. They were so expensive they couldn't sell them. But now today it's an aluminum V8, aluminum body. If you've never driven one, it's an absolute pleasure to drive. A lot of people have never even seen one. I think they made just around 250. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, when BMW reintroduced pretty much the tribute to the 507, there was the Z8. And they struggled. They had a hard time selling them. There were sometimes they were selling them under sticker. There was a short while they were getting over sticker, or trying to at least. But it wasn't a fair assessment what a lot of these magazines and articles came out. They compared it to a supercar, and it wasn't. It was a touring car, and it's a front engine. If it's not the Alpina, it's the 4.9 liter V8 with right around 400 horsepower, stick shift, and they're an absolute blast to drive. Do you want to do 200 in the car? No, but for back roads and touring and just cruising, it's a nice rumble. And in my eyes, it's a timeless body design, and they're absolutely stunning. And I've had the pleasure, I've been with Wayne. I think I was talking with you before, like 16, 17 years. And I've had the pleasure of selling about over 20 of them. So every time I get to photograph one, drive one, sell one, I'm just in heaven. I wish I had one, but I don't yet. So
yeah, and it's overused, but like the interior, I would say is kind of Art Deco. I mean, it's an overused phrase, but it's got a really cool, unique interior. And if you would compare the Z8 to the Alpina Z8, because they're completely different drivetrain cars, correct?
Correct. The Alpina has the Alpina engine and is made into an automatic transmission. So some people prefer the automatic just for cruising. I personally, even though they made a lot more, they made about 5,000 Z8s. They only made 555 Alpinas. So they're all numbered. I think the Alpina in the showroom, I think it's 378, I believe. I've had the pleasure of signing a bunch of those. And it's cool that they're numbered and they're extremely rare. I personally just like the regular Z8s. They're about 100 grand less. So it's still a bargain. But, there was 555 produced opposed to 5,000. So it's a numbers game. So I think a lot of people, when they collect them, they look for the Alpinas. And then maybe if you just want to drive it and have a fun car, maybe you just get a Z8. I guess that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. And I actually did a video from Audrain recently, and they had a Z8 Alpina at the Cars and Coffee.
Yes.
So I have one of those on my video.
Cool.
On YouTube. So be sure to check that out. All right. I got to keep an eye on the time here. All right, let's see. C2 Corvettes. So that would be 1963 to 1967. So only 4 years of one of my favorite generations.
Yes. I absolutely love the C2s. Anyone that's driven a C1, not putting them down, they're beautiful. They're stunning. They're great, but no good seat adjustments, straight axle, very bumpy, uncomfortable. A C2, they switched to independent suspension. The look, the Stingray, it's just absolutely stunning. One of my favorite cars, the split window, the 1 year in 63. But, everyone used to poo-poo 64s and 5s and always go to 67s or 63s. But the 64, 5, 6, they're amazing cars. Me personally, I prefer a coupe over convertible. I'm not a huge convertible guy. I just like the look of the natural lines of the C2 coupe. But the convertibles are amazing as well. I feel you don't need the big block, a little extra weight up front. I prefer the small block. A 327, 350 horse is a perfect car. But I feel you can't go wrong with any one of them, whether it's a resto mod or a big block, small block, coupe, convertible. They're just great cars. And the values have come up a bit, but still, I don't think they're huge money for what they are and the enjoyment factor of driving them. And
Yeah, they're gorgeous. They're my favorite car. I've been pining over my uncle's. He's had it since 1974. It's a small
oh,
block. Yeah, it's a 4-speed side pipe AC coupe, which I actually
wow.
absolutely love. And I'm right there with you. I think 64 they were all drum, so 65 you get the disc brakes, which is pretty cool. It's interesting because they're bringing back the split window, kind of with that new ZR1 that's coming out. The C8 ZR1 has a rear kind of split window for the rear hatch, which is pretty cool. All right, the next one I would totally agree with you is Blazers and Broncos. Now that's pretty broad, but they've really appreciated lately too. Like, is there a particular one you think we should watch out for in 2025 versus others?
So I feel like the early Broncos, they've shot up. So I don't feel they're a bargain. I think they're still a cool truck. I just saw one the other day in the middle of nowhere. We were at my daughter's lacrosse tournament in Massachusetts and stumbled across one, and I was like, wow, it's just timeless. They're so cool and fun. Boxy, I like boxy. Anything, even the trucks, from the C10s to the F100s, but anything SUV truck, I think it's cool. I think a lot of people remember them. Maybe their dad had one, or grandpa had one, or aunt had one. And someone had one at one point in time, and a lot of people can relate to them, and they're cool. And it's hard finding good ones because a lot of them rusted away, or a lot of them weren't restoring. So it's nice to see more and more come along and people bringing them back to their former glory.
Right. Yeah, they're really cool. And what do you think about International Scouts right now? I believe someone bought the rights, Rivian or someone, to make International Scout electric sport utes and vehicles. What are your thoughts on that as a one to watch?
I agree with you. I think that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, how about the was it the K5 that has the convertible? Those things have really gone nuts, haven't they?
They have. I love the K5s.
Yeah, those are cool. All right, the next one's like in the opposite direction. You said 1970s Mercedes, 220, 250, 280 SEs. Obviously, some of those are highly collectible, but like, what's your thought on this? Is it kind of a generational thing that's chasing these more, you think, in the future, or
I just love the look of them. I think they look great. I think they're a great cruiser. 280s, obviously, more specifically, the 3.5 liters, the V8 with the AC, they're limited, like you said. It's all supply and demand, so they're a lot more money. But I think people shouldn't overlook some of the more driver 220s, 250s. I think there's bargains out there, and I see some of these cars, people dump 80 grand into a restoration, and even if it's not a show car, just a high quality driver, you see them out there 20, 30, 40 grand, and I think they're a terrific car. They're beautiful to look at, and they're a blast to drive.
I've always wanted a 250, the 4-door, just to put around on. I don't know what it was, but my dad had two early 70s 4-door Mercedes that he just flipped. They're probably 220s or whatever. And, he was an educator, so he didn't have a ton of cash and just trying to make a little side money. So I have good memories of riding around one of those back in the day, so that was really cool. Now, this next one, I might have to dispute with you a little bit.
Oh,
so one's to watch in 1960. I'm sorry, one's to watch in 2025. British 60s, 70s Jags Triumph NGs. So recently, like, the British has suffered quite a bit. Is this more of a driving thing? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, let me explain. Let me defend myself here. No, you're right. So E-types that have shot up, and then they're super soft. I feel like there's so many of them. So, and I'm not saying this is buy a E-type. It's going to be $1 million car, but
Sure.
E-types have always had the spotlight. But some of these older British cars, like take an MG twin cam, for example. A lot of people don't even know what that is, and you're like, wait a second, this is a rare car, and they're a blast to drive, and they're super fun. Like I have a cute little MGA, nothing overly special. It's a 58 1500 in the back here. I'm asking $25,000. Now, most paint jobs start at more than that. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you and I add up the receipts this guy has in it, he's like $80,000. So here's a beautiful, fun little car for 25 grand. Okay, buy it, done. Like I've learned from Wayne, be the second one. Don't wait 5 years to restore it unless it's dad's car and there's sentimental value, and you have to have that specific car. I mean, here's one you can drive today for $25,000, and the guy before you dumped over 80 in it. You're going to have issues and problems and headaches because it's an old British car. But, you know, maybe you spend $200 on a new coil, but you're not dropping $80,000 restoring it. So that's what I meant. TR4s are super cool. Just to name a couple. I mean, you have Austin Healey's. I love 104s, early ones, later 3000s. So I think there's so many cool, fun 60s and 70s sports cars. Doesn't have to necessarily be British. I'm always looking for something a little unique, a little different than what everyone else has, and then on top of it, most bang for your buck, right?
Right. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, that's really cool. And actually, I'm trying to help someone with a TR3, same situation, you know, trying to sell it, get 25 out of it if he can, and he's got, 80 grand in receipts, same kind of deal.
Yeah.
Great little car. My issue with those is I don't fit in them that well.
Yeah, that's an issue with a lot of these old sports cars.
All right, we have one more to go, and I really like this last one. You kind of referenced it there. You said anything that you have memories with or brings your family together, and you sent a picture of your Woody wagon.
Yes. Yeah.
So, was
So
that one from your childhood, or?
no, that was one that I helped sell years ago, and then it was in Wayne's collection, and then I had the opportunity to purchase it from Wayne. So I think I've owned that one about 7 years now, and being in the car business, it's hard to keep them, especially trying to get to the next level, right? So you're always buying and selling or wheeling and dealing. So it's hard for my kids to get attached because they see the Porsche 911 in the garage and then they don't see it a year or two down the road. So that one has kind of been locked in with my wife and my 3 kids as the family car. That's what we're keeping. And we take it out on a nice day. We take it to lacrosse or soccer practice. We get an ice cream cone in it, and we get more thumbs up and more waves. And people have literally said to me, "You're too young to drive that." I'm like, "What does that even mean, sir?" I said to this gentleman, like, "What does that mean? I'm too young to drive this." But that's just a fun car. So when you ask me, what's next, like anything that you remember or you could create memories with your family. Might be a mini moke. It might be a Volkswagen thing. It might be a Woody wagon. I love the Woody wagons. They're super cool. A lot of people love Jeeps. There's a lot of Jeeps out there. I particularly am not a Jeep guy. Sorry, Dennis. But, I just love something unique and different. Not that you need the attention. It's just fun. That's all.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, as always, man, thanks for being on the Collector Car Podcast. What's the best way they can find you at F40 Motorsports?
Mike at F40.com. You can go to F40.com or Google, Google F40 Motorsports.
you.
And you'll find us.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mike. I
Thank
appreciate
you
your
so
time
much.
today.
You have
Yeah.
a great day.